My name is Violet Maxwell. I'm 33 years old, the youngest daughter of one of Los Angeles's most image-obsessed families, the kind that hosts charity galas for causes they barely understand, and smiles only when a camera is flashing. Unlike my older sister Miranda, who inherited our mother's taste for manipulation and our father's thirst for control, I chose distance from their money, their rules, and their carefully edited lives. And for that, they called me the beggar, the disappointment, the liability. What they didn't know was that while they were sipping champagne on my dime, I was buying something they couldn't touch, not with forged trust documents or blood-soaked guilt. I let them humiliate me, and then I showed them my $920,000 condo. Now they're the ones frozen in place. The ballroom smelled like money, artificial lilies, and spilled bourbon. 120 guests, 2 violinists, a champagne tower stacked like a dare. Miranda's voice sliced through the chatter. She's here. I caught my father's eyes just as he turned. Stone-faced, he raised his glass, then didn't drink. A waiter blocked my path. Then security stepped in. Blue tie, square jaw, right hand hovering over my shoulder, not touching yet. My mother stood beside the head table. Her pearls matched her teeth. She looked at me like I was gum under her heel. I'm here to see my family, I said. Calm. Dead center. No tremble. Your family revoked your invitation. The security guard's voice was too soft for the room, but loud enough for the 2 women whispering by the bar to hear. I paid for this room. My voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. No, you didn't. My father's voice echoed like a rifle crack. Get this beggar out. Silence. Someone dropped a fork. Breathe. I stepped back before they could touch me. High heels steady. Eyes dry. You can't erase someone who wrote the check. But I left. That's the part no one remembers. I walked, 1 foot in front of the other, past the ice sculpture, past Uncle Vincent's gaping mouth, past the server still pouring rose for a guest who hadn't reacted at all. The concierge watched me leave through the lobby. Marble floors caught my reflection in pieces. A woman uninvited from her own money. Outdoors, the air hit hard. Cold, damp. LA winter, sharp in the lungs. In the parking structure, I stopped. Pulled out my phone. Opened the app. LedgerX. I'd waited for this moment since the first time they told me. Just this once, Violet. You have the credit card. You wouldn't want your family embarrassed, would you? I never forgot. $7,800, catering revoke. $12,000, flight block JFK LAX X4. $48,300, venue, status pending. Cancel authorization? I tapped yes. From behind me, footsteps. Too fast for heels. I turned, heart jackhammering. Just a kid, delivering food 2 rows over. I smiled. He flinched. I got in the car. Slick leather, still warm from the sun. Callie's voice played in my head. Power doesn't change people. It reveals who's been faking power all along. I pulled up the vendor list. Jared's Maldives tickets. Gone. Mom's spa retreat. Gone. The champagne that was now halfway down people's throats? Recalled, refunded. Not illegal. Just precise. 1 call from the event manager came in. I didn't answer. Back at my apartment, the silence was clean, like absence with good acoustics. Then came the texts. Mom, what happened? Miranda, you ruined everything. Dad, nothing. Just a forwarded invoice with a single line. Unpaid. The knock came fast. Angry. Through the peephole, Jared. Half untucked. Flushed. Loud. You fix this. Right now. I didn't answer. He banged again. You think this makes you powerful? You think you win. I slid open my safe, pulled out the black folder, labeled Contingency Phase 1. Contracts, receipts, authorization codes, My LLC, Harper Holdings, written in every footer. I warned them, I said to the silence. You treat me like a bank, I act like one. He was still yelling, but I was already flipping pages. One sheet at a time. One debt at a time. One bloodline at a time. They called me a beggar. Two bad beggars don't own the deed. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, eyes locked on the ceiling, while the notifications buzzed like a swarm on the nightstand. Messages stacked on top of missed calls, then voicemails, then threats. Jared was first. Predictable. You shut down our flights? Violet, are you serious? Miranda is crying. Do you even care? Miranda wasn't crying. She never cried unless someone important was watching. I rolled over. Picked up my burner phone instead. Logged in. Harper Holdings, LLC. Clean. Controlled. Isolated from every Maxwell tie. A 3-year strategy built in silence under their noses while they thought I was working for a boutique firm in Echo Park. I'd built it so quietly even my accountant thought it was a shell for tax write-offs. What they didn't know, I made it real. Real enough to fund a 6-figure venue, 5-star catering, charter flights. Real enough to cancel all of it, too. I opened the vendor dashboard. Catering, reversed. Venue, frozen. Transportation, voided. Miranda's Maldives honeymoon? Gone before she could even check in. Every cent pulled. Every confirmation revoked. You don't burn the bridge while you're still standing on it. But they thought I didn't know how to swim. I dropped the phone. Cut scene. Knock at the door. Loud. Steady. Too familiar. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Second knock. This one heavier. Angrier. I cracked the peephole. Callie. I opened. She slid inside before I could speak. Hair soaked, mascara running. Tell me you didn't touch the spa account, she said, voice sharp. I touched everything, I said flat. She threw her hands up. Violet, your mother dragged me into this. She's trying to backtrace every vendor, every transfer. Said, if I don't cooperate, she'll expose my student loan fraud from 10 years ago. I blinked. She found that. She's digging, Vi. Hard. The kind of digging that ends up with IRS agents in your hallway. I leaned back against the counter. The marble felt cold, grounding. They always said forgiveness is for the weak, I muttered. Turns out weakness was the one thing I never inherited. Callie looked at me like I was growing teeth. I didn't flinch. Back to the laptop. I opened a folder marked Contingency Phase 1. Contracts, invoices, screenshots, legal templates, everything tied to my LLC, including a notarized rental agreement, signed by my mother, making me sole responsible party for the event. Legally binding. I clicked Send All and addressed it to Ava Shin, my lawyer. Just in case. Another buzz. Private number. I answered. A male voice I didn't recognize, low and clipped. They're filing for injunctive seizure. You've got less than 72 hours before they try to freeze all Harper-linked assets. Click. No name. No trace. No time. Callie stared. Who the hell was that? No idea, I said, but he's 3 steps ahead of them. I turned to my wall safe, punched in a 12-digit code. The door hissed open. Inside, 3 encrypted USBs, 1 ledger drive, a sealed envelope marked bloodline accounts. I handed one to Callie. If I get hit with a federal freeze, I said, you take this to Ava. Don't open it. Don't stall. Just run. She clutched it like it might burn her. You think this is war, she whispered. I nodded. No, war has rules. This is blood. She left 5 minutes later. I watched her go through the peephole, waited until the elevator closed. Then I locked the top bolt and slid the deadbolt across. Then silence until the lights flickered. Once, twice, then steady again. I looked at the ceiling, then at the hallway camera. A red, Blinked back at me. I smiled. I thought cutting them off would end this. Turns out, it just made them desperate. The sky cracked open over West LA as I pulled into the underground garage of my new condo. Rain slammed the windshield, then hissed off like static. I cut the engine. Silence wrapped around me, thick, artificial. The lobby smelled like fresh marble and new money. My heels echoed on the tiles like a warning. "Good evening, Miss Harper," the concierge said without blinking. That name still felt foreign, sharp-edged, like a blade I was only just learning how to hold. I nodded. "No mail." One envelope. No return address. He handed it to me. Black paper. No seal. No stamp. Just wait. I didn't open it. Cut scene. 30th floor. Glass doors hissed open. The condo welcomed me in a language of silence. Chilled air, filtered light, engineered calm. The walls were white. Too white. I walked barefoot across the polished oak. The view? Pure LA. Skyscrapers, smog, stars. The city I never wanted to belong to, and now owned a piece of. I slid the envelope onto the kitchen island and didn't touch it. Instead, I opened the built-in safe, pulled out the asset sheet. Harper Holdings had officially transferred full title of the condo to my name. No contingencies, no partners, no family. $920,000. Paid in full. No liens, no debt, just clean, silent power. I poured a drink, sat on the edge of the granite counter, watched headlights slice through the storm on the freeway, then opened the envelope. Inside, a single photo. Me, outside the hotel, mid-step, mid-exit, security behind me, my mother's silhouette in the background, barely turned, and a note typed. "Nice view. Shame it won't last." I read it 3 times, then turned off every light. Cut scene. The condo turned from luxury to bunker in seconds. I bolted the door, drew the blackout shades, disabled the smart home voice assistant. Some people hide behind passwords. I hide behind real estate. I checked the hallway camera feed. Empty. Then noticed something. The timestamp. 3:14 a.m. The camera refreshed every 10 seconds. 3 hours, 14 minutes, and 10 seconds. Hallway empty. 3 hours, 14 minutes, and 20 seconds. A flicker. A shadow. Just out of frame. Then gone. I didn't blink. The most dangerous people don't make noise. They just wait until you breathe out. I grabbed the emergency phone, satellite linked. Dialed Ava. She answered on the 3rd ring, whispering, "Violet, I was just about to call you." "Why?" "There's a new filing. Your mother just petitioned to freeze Harper Holdings' assets through a buried clause in the Maxwell Family Trust." "That's not possible," I said. I scrubbed all Maxwell links. Harper is clean. Not according to what they submitted. A trust amendment, dated 2006. You were 17. It says any financial entity you create within 20 years could be considered influenced by family capital. It's a stretch, but it's moving fast. I didn't speak. "I've seen this before," Ava added. "This isn't about money. It's legacy warfare." I closed the safe, locked it. "Legacy is a polite word for erasure," I said. She paused. "There's more. The amendment was filed by Miranda, not your mom, but it was notarized by Nolan Kessler." That name hit like a slap. Nolan used to handle my father's offshore accounts until he disappeared. Cut scene. Another knock. Softer this time. From the hallway. I checked the feed. The tech guy from 29F. Neatly dressed. Smiling. I opened 2 inches. The latch still on. He raised his hands. "Sorry to bother. Just wanted to say, wild story. That whole Maxwell scandal thing? Internet's eating it up." I stiffened. He tilted his head. "Your name's Violet, right? Not Harper." I didn't answer. He winked. Nice condo. Killer view. He walked away. Didn't wait for a response. I shut the door. Locked everything again. How did he know? No one in this building should know. No one. My hands shook. I turned back to the envelope. The note. Reread it slowly. Nice view. Shame it won't last. I whispered into the silence. They didn't just want my money. They wanted me erased. Rain hammered the windows like someone trying to get in. I sat across from Ava in her Santa Monica office. She was lit only by the desk lamp. Sleeves rolled up, lips pressed thin. Outside, neon signs flickered in rhythm with my heartbeat. She slid the trust paperwork across the desk. My name sat right there, 18 years old, legally binding, buried in a clause I hadn't seen in a decade. Your mother filed it 24 hours ago. With an emergency injunction, Ava said. She's trying to trigger a freeze on Harper Holdings based on retroactive financial influence. Which doesn't exist, I said flatly. Legally, it does now. The room shrank. Air thinned. They forged the amendment, Ava continued. The signature's yours, but the ink is new. Someone traced your original signature, then layered a scan. Who notarized it? Ava flipped to the back. Nolan Kisla. I laughed sharp. Of course. Cut scene. I paced the floor, boots squeaking on polished stone. Every 5 steps, I caught my reflection in the window. Tense shoulders, clenched jaw, like a woman who'd seen this ambush coming, but still walked into it. When people can't control the narrative, I muttered, they try to rewrite the origin. Ava looked up. That's poetic, but they're rewriting your future. I turned to her. Then we burn their pen. She handed me a second document. Here's where it gets worse. Always does. It's not just your mother. The trust was reactivated using Miranda's authority. She accessed the vault 2 weeks before the event, and she needed Mom's approval to submit. Ava nodded, which means this wasn't impulsive. It was premeditated. Cut scene. Elevator. 32nd floor. My key card beeped twice before the doors opened. I entered the condo like a soldier returning to hostile territory. Lights off. Curtains drawn. Air cold. I dropped my coat. Didn't take off my shoes. Walked straight to the safe. 12-digit code. Click. I retrieved the drive labeled Maxwell Origins, audio/legal. Connected it to the laptop. Opened the encrypted folder. There it was, phone recordings between my mother and their financial advisor months ago. She said it herself. Violet is no longer manageable. If we can't control her, we bankrupt her. That wasn't paranoia. That was policy. Cut scene. The doorbell rang. 3 soft knocks. I looked through the peephole. No one. Buzzed the hallway feed. Nothing. I scanned frame by frame. At 11 hours, 3 minutes, and 2 seconds, a silhouette. A man in a suit. Standing still. Then stepping out of frame. Perfectly timed to the camera's delay. I checked the elevator log. No recent access. He used the stairs. I grabbed my burner phone. Texted Ava, they've made contact. She replied instantly. Hold position. I'm sending someone. I armed the condo's silent alarm. Checked the corners. Locked every bolt. Then I turned back to the window. Lightning forked over downtown LA. My reflection stared back, but something behind it moved. A flicker. Ispoon. Empty. Just my breathing. Fast. Uneven. I whispered into the room. Power doesn't come from money. It comes from being unkillable. Silence answered. Then the building lights dimmed, just for a second. Enough to feel deliberate. I reached for the light switch. Before I touched it, my phone vibrated again. Callie. I answered. Her voice was low, shaky. Vi, they're not after the money anymore. My stomach dropped. What are they after? Control. Pause. And they filed to seize your condo. My blood turned to ice. They're arguing it's an asset derived from the family trust, using the clause, the one your mother forged. They won't win, I said, but they've already scheduled the hearing. When? 48 hours. Downtown. Division 3. I leaned against the kitchen island, fists clenched. There's something colder than betrayal. Erasure. They didn't want justice, I said. They wanted to erase me legally. The power went out at 2:14 a.m. Not the building, just my unit. I stood in darkness, barefoot, the hum of the refrigerator gone. Air too still, too perfect. Silence was never just silence. It was someone waiting to make noise. I reached for the drawer under the sink, pulled out the flashlight, clicked it on. Beam sliced through the kitchen. Nothing. Living room. Empty. Bedroom. Movement. A blur behind the curtain. I didn't think. I ran. Backpedaled through the hallway, heart thudding in my throat. A glass vase shattered behind me, either wind or footsteps. I didn't wait to find out. I hit the alarm panel. Dead. Disarmed. Manun over dit opverlein. Never trust security. You didn't build yourself, I muttered. Cut scene. I grabbed the fireplace poker. Weighty. Solid. Not just for show anymore. A shadow moved near the balcony. Too fast for me to track. My breath caught in my lungs. I turned off the flashlight. Let my eyes adjust. The darkness watched back. Sudden noise. Crash. Something hit the floor in the office. I moved slowly. 1 step. 2. Then I ran. The stairwell. 10 steps. Barefoot on cold concrete. I skipped the elevator. Instinct screamed no. Emergency lights flickered. 20th floor. 19th. Then. Footsteps behind me. Fuss. I twisted around. Nothing. No one. Except I could feel breath. Not mine. My pulse jackhammered. I shoved the stairwell door open onto the rooftop. Zen. Wind. Empty skyline. Then a man stepped out from behind the HVAC unit. Black hoodie. Gloves. Eyes like glass. I raised the poker. He didn't flinch. What do you want? I shouted. He stepped closer. I said, not here for money. Then what? His voice was too calm. A message. He lunged. We struggled. Slipped. The poker scraped concrete. He grabbed my wrist, twisted. I slammed my knee into his ribs. He didn't make a sound. Pain means you're still human. He didn't feel like one. Then his foot slipped. He stumbled back. Rain slicked the ledge. He teetered. One hand reached for me. I didn't grab him. I didn't push either. He fell. Silence. Then a thud. I stood frozen. Blood dripping from a cut on my palm. I whispered, they're not using lawyers anymore. Cut scene. I took the elevator down alone. Security was empty. No one at the desk. I reviewed the camera logs. He entered via stairwell. No keycard. No name. No record. I opened his wallet. No cash. One laminated ID. Chase Parker. My father's ex-financial advisor. The man who vanished 15 years ago when the SEC came knocking. I laughed once, dry bitter. They hadn't hired a stranger. They hired a ghost. Callie's voice echoed in my mind. Your family doesn't bury secrets. They breed them. I opened the USB backup. Clicked through the forensic files. One tab. One line. A transfer from Harper Holdings, redirected. 2 weeks ago. To an entity named Fidelis Trust, LLC. I followed the paper trail. It looped back to a P.O. box. Belonged to a woman named Marianne Maxwell. My mother. She was redirecting money from my condo account before the injunction was even filed. This wasn't reaction. This was premeditation. Cold-blooded. Corporate. Personal. I leaned back against the cold steel cabinet. Wiped the blood from my palm. They wanted me scared. They should have made sure I was still soft. They didn't send a lawyer this time. They sent a ghost from our past. Sunlight spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but it felt sterile, artificial, like the smile Marian gave the judge as she took the stand. She wore navy, pearls, her hair pinned in perfect waves like the past hadn't collapsed around her. I sat across the room, quiet, unshaken. My attorney, Nolan, whispered, "This is where the cracks show. Stay still. Stillness is a weapon if you've been underestimated long enough." Marianne adjusted the mic. "My daughter has always struggled with reality." Subtle nod toward insanity. She distanced herself from our family. She refused support. And now she fabricates these wild. I stood. "Permission to speak," I said. The judge raised a brow. Briefly, I stepped forward. Calm, deliberate, struggled with reality. I smiled. "I built it." Click. Nolan hit the screen. Documents appeared. Financial trails. Unauthorized transfers. Dummy corporations. One line flickered red. Fidelis Trust, LLC, personal account, M. Maxwell. Marianne's lips parted. Just slightly. Her eyes went to father. He didn't look back. I turned to the gallery. I was called a beggar, but I paid for the venue, the champagne, the damn chandelier. Pause. I bought that silence for a while, but truth has its own schedule. Cut scene. Court adjourned. Outside, the wind ripped through Wilshire. Reporters buzzed. Microphones swarmed. But I didn't stop. I walked past the cameras, past the steps, into the black car waiting at the curb. Nolan climbed in behind me. "She's facing indictment. Bank fraud. Falsifying trustee documents. You just crushed a dynasty." I looked out the window. No, I exposed it. He handed me an envelope. I opened it. Inside a photo. A young woman. Me, but younger. Holding hands with a girl, maybe 10 years old. "Who's this?" I asked. "That's Annabelle Lang," Nolan said. "Your sister's daughter. From before the annulment. The one they erased." I stared. They paid off the father. Had the record sealed. "She's in New Mexico. And she's looking for you." Blood thickens when lies thin. Cut scene. Later that week, I stood in my new condo's kitchen. The one I bought. My name. My money. My sky-high view. I poured coffee. Checked the locks. Triple verified security. Then the doorbell rang. Not buzzer. Bell. No one ever used it. I checked the camera. It wasn't a threat. It was her. Annabelle. Older now. But her eyes matched mine. I opened the door. She didn't speak. Just held out a box. Wooden. Hand-carved. Inside, letters. Dozens. Addressed to me. Never delivered. All signed dead. I swallowed. "They never reached me," I whispered. "I know," she said. "That's why I brought them." I sat down. Flipped open the first envelope. A voice I hadn't heard in years returned. Soft. Guilty. Hoping. I closed my eyes. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about choosing which truth to carry forward. Cut scene. A week later, a charity gala downtown. I walked in wearing black silk. No family beside me. Just Annabelle. Heads turned. I raised a glass. To broken mirrors. Because sometimes shattering them is the only way to see who's standing behind you. Pause. Applause. Some hesitant. Some furious. Marian wasn't there. She wouldn't be attending events for a long time. Nolan approached. "You sure you want to make this your world?" I smiled. "No, I'm making a new one." Cut scene. Balcony. City lights. Annabelle beside me. We watched the skyline burn orange. "You're not what they said you were," she whispered. "Neither are you," I replied. She leaned against me. "You think this is over?" she asked. I shook my head. It never really ends. But some stories, They stopped needing villains. And in the silence that followed, I realized maybe revenge wasn't the victory. Maybe it was survival with your soul intact. Not a headline, not a mansion, but the ability to look in the mirror and see yourself unshattered, unbought, and finally, unbroken.